So today we're going to be talking about the King of Pentacles, and we're going to talk about some of the symbols on the card. We'll talk about the astrology behind it, the background of this card, some of the connections with other cards, and how they bring out the meaning of this card, and really what this card means in a reading and what it means for your life, and just the power of this card. It's a very good card to get in a reading, by the way. So this card, if we look at the Waite deck, we can see that the knight's sitting on a throne, and he's facing us, and he has this scepter in his hand. Now, a scepter is a sign of power and authority, and not in a domineering type of way, but just having power over your life and be able to manifest things into your life in terms of your finances, your home, your career, and being successful at those things. So this card is a card about success, right? It has grapes all over the garment. So he has a lot of abundance when it comes to success, and he's celebrating that. Grapes are a sign of celebration. They're connected to wine. They're connected to the deity Dionysus. We talked about that before in other videos, but I just want to emphasize that because it is a part of this card. There's a very fertile area here. He has flowers on his crown. And so this card is about abundance. He has a very fertile nature to him. The Thoth, I want to mention, it says Knight of Discs. So the Knight of Discs and the Thoth is the King of Pentacles and the Waite. At least that's how I see it. Other people may disagree, but that's okay. I mean, I think that whatever works for you is fine. So that's the beauty of tarot. But anyway, there's wheat here in the front, and that wheat is symbolic of fertility as well. The King of Pentacles on the Hermetic Tarot, it is Aries and Taurus. So that's fire of earth. Okay. And there's a lot of astrology associated with this card, and we'll talk more about that. But on this deck, we have fire and earth, Aries and Taurus. And I think that's a really beautiful combination. You can see you have the bull right there. I love on the Navigators of the Mystic Sea, how you have the volcano in the background, and you have the fertile green area here representing fire and earth. That's an important aspect to this. I think that when you talk about fire and earth, you're talking about not really two opposing signs, but signs that I think bring out the best in each other in a different way, like fire and from a scientific perspective, fire really does make the earth fertile because it can burn through an area and allow for new growth to develop and really fertilize the land. It's an important part of an ecosystem. So that's one concept to think about. And so in terms of your life, there may be some things that are going to be maybe burned away to allow for some more fresh, new things to come through and be more abundant and thrive. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then on the Liber Tarot, we have a lot more astrology that I think is really important, and it connects us to the meaning of this card even further. So we have Leo and we have Mars, and some decks may have a lion on them when it comes to this card. And right here, the Alchemical Tarot does just that. And you'll see that with different decks. They'll have different, I guess, symbols or animals or things that represent different astrological signs. And so if you're wondering why those things are on certain cards, learning the astrology can really help you put those things together. Now, something that's really cool here is that the rest of these signs, we have Virgo, and then we have the Sun, and we have Venus. They are all incorporated into the Tabula Mundi, and it brings out the message of this card. So let's take a look at the Tabula Mundi, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. So on the Tabula Mundi, it says fire of earth. We talked about that already. If you look right here at this circle, in that circle, there are some items or some things in there. And those all point us to the cards that are associated with this card. And some of the cards anyway. So one of those cards, if we look at the eggs here, that is the eight of disc. So the 8 of disc also has eggs on it in the Tabula Mundi. And it is Virgo and Sun. So one of those astrological combinations. And it says prudence. And that's because one of the characteristics of this card is a protective quality. Being able to take care of the things around you and support them. But on the Thoth system, we see, let me find that here, that he has this shield, and there's this energy coming from this shield. And that's because he's protecting that fertile area in front of him. So things that are going to be developing or growing, or that have sprouted and become fruitful, he's protective of that. And I think that's a wonderful thing about this card, because it shows that this is not someone that service to self. They're very much service to others. And then the next card here, if we look again at that circle, we can see a pair of hands, and that is connected to the 9 of disc, which is gain. And I talked about this card before. You may want to go check out some of those videos and get a little bit more information about these cards. But the 9 of disc is also about abundance. It's about having your finances together, your career, whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever you do, right? Whatever makes you feel whole in your life, you're taking care of that. It doesn't have to be material things. It could be spiritual. This card, by the way, is the Virgo and Venus aspect of it. And then we go to the Leo and Mars aspect of it, which is valor, which is also about being protective, but it's also about setting boundaries, and it's about being able to control your energy and allowing certain things in your life, because when you're being supportive, when you're being helpful, it's still important to take care of yourself and to maintain those barriers and those boundaries. One card that I think really does embody all of these concepts really well comes from the Lorenzi Tarot, and it's a bit abstract, but it puts so many things together so well. So I want to talk about that. You have this person with this hourglass going through their head, and there's this gold sand flowing through it, which is a sign of having things just flowing into your life effortlessly because of your ability to manifest them and to be at that level where you understand what works for you. And then inside of the hourglass, you have a person here at the top, and they're not sinking with the sand, because as you are gaining in your life, you're also supporting everything around you and not allowing those things to fail as well. So there's that service to others aspect of it. And even down here at the bottom, there's a heart inside of the bottom of the hourglass, and there are 2 people there that are needing to be protected, because as you gain, sometimes when people gain things, they can oppress and kind of suffocate the efforts of others, or step on them, or really kick them when they're down. But this isn't someone that's like that. This is someone that understands that their decisions have an effect and an impact on those around them. So as that sand flows, those people in the bottom of the hourglass are also protected and supported. Let's talk about manifestation. Let's talk about what that really means, because it means different things for different people. And I want to take a little bit of a detour here and go back to the 5 of Pentacles video that I talked about before, because in that video, I talked a lot about having a victim mindset. And I talked about how sometimes people can use that to kind of kick people when they're down. And I disagree with that, how people can use the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, to blame people for, okay, you're in this situation because of the way you think, because of who you are, and your inability to understand how to manifest things into your life. And I think that's totally wrong. I think when you're just clobbering someone over the head like that, when they've been, maybe even have legitimately been victimized, I think that's definitely something that I need to bring up again before I talk about manifestation. However, you can be victimized and you can be down, but there's no reason you have to stay there. It may take time, and no one's going to say snap out of it or rush back to the point where you can recover, but you can make progress out of victimhood, right? Out of being a victim of something, because I do believe it works. I believe there's power in the way we think and the things that we bring into our lives because of our attitude towards things and because of the way we face our challenges. So let's bring that up and let's really talk about that. And let's dive deep into how I look at that, my perspective on that, because I think about it a little bit differently, and it may work for you, it may not, but I just want to share my thoughts on manifestation with you and what's worked for me. So, I mean, I'm not perfect, of course. I mean, I have issues still, but what I'm saying is, I think that I look at it in a way that, I don't know, maybe it's not as popular. So let's talk about this on an energetic level. Energy flows. It can flow within you, and it can flow around you, into you, outside of you. And one of the things I think that is really important that I've learned is that my energy, it's my energy. And I have to understand that there's no one that has a right to take that energy, to use my energy, to exploit my energy for, I don't know, for whatever reason. And I know that's a bit extreme, but I do believe that our energy flows outside of our body. We have a field around us. This whole idea of increasing your vibration, increasing your frequency, and living in a way where you're always happy or always on this high level, to me, that was just never realistic. And so when I think about manifesting things into my life, I would be hard pressed to walk around and not have certain thoughts come to me and to not realize that, okay, I can't just be perfect all the time and watch what I think and watch what I say. I'm a human being, and I'm gonna run into situations where I just don't feel right on a certain day. What has worked for me is realizing that no matter what that energy is, no matter what I feel, it's still my energy, and no one has a right, or nothing has a right, to use that. Whether I'm feeling something negative or positive, it's mine. And what really stuck with me about this is I was looking at, there's a statue I have over here of Thoth. And I was looking at that. I got it a while back. I was looking at it, and he has this ankh, and he's holding up this ankh. And I was like, what is that? And I started looking up information about it. But then the thought occurred to me is that I think this is about his energy. It's about connecting his energy back to himself. It's a loop. And it's symbolic. I'm not saying you have to walk around with an ankh, but what I'm saying is symbolic of understanding that there is that ownership, that authority, that power of your energy and what that energy means to you. And then he has this rod that's grounded into the earth. You see, he has this rod right here. That rod means that you're connected. Your source is the earth, and you can, whatever energy you have, if you have negative energy, you can put that energy into the earth. But you can also get sustenance and good energy from the earth. And when you start to think like that, you'll see that these vampiric things, these attachments, will detach. They will go away, and you'll start to bring in more positive things into your life as a result of that. But that's worked for me. I have seen results from thinking about my energy in those terms. And so let's move on and talk about the element that's associated with this card. If you haven't watched my videos before, always, because I'm interested in the periodic table, I like to associate each card not just with an element like fire or earth or water or air, but also with an element from the periodic table, and see where that takes me. I've had a great time doing that. And so the element for this card is Californium. And I think it's a very fitting element for this. California is known as the golden state. And so this card is about, pentacles. It's about abundance. It's about success. And California seems to have that theme going through it. And so one of the interesting things is that Californium, even though it's not something that has a long half-life or it stays around for a long period of time, it can be man-made, and it can be used in devices that detect gold and silver. Now, also, if we look at the seal of California, there are some really cool parallels to the seal of California and to the King of Pentacles. So we have a goddess there. We have Minerva, who was also about her sovereignty, her independence from Kronos. So the other thing that's on there that I thought was interesting is the grapes, or grapevines. There's a bear eating grapes. And I love that on the Star Tarot here, we have those two bears. And bears are a sign of protection, but they're also a sign of, pausing and taking that break and enjoying that success. And so it's almost like these bears are eating that success and enjoying and taking the time to relish that. And I think that's important, to celebrate your successes in life. California, I think, embraces that. And also California, of course, is a state that produces a lot of wine. And so that's why those vines are on there as well. And wine is associated with the King of Pentacles. So you also have someone that is digging for gold or mining or something in the background there. And so that's also about abundance. You have a very fertile area there. You have those mountains in the background. And so like on the Navigators of the Mystic Sea Tarot, you have that sort of image where you have the mountains in the background, the lake here, and then you also have that fertile ground there. It kind of reminds me, this card actually on the Navigators of the Mystic Sea really reminds me of that seal of California. Now I'm not saying California is perfect. Of course it's not. There's tons of problems. I mean, every state has its problems. But what I'm saying is, as far as this video is concerned, I thought that it fit. And I wanted to kind of explore it, incorporate it into the meaning, and see if there's something that I could get out of that. And what I got out of that was that this card is about other people, and to remember that it's not about service to self. So as you enjoy that success, remember those around you. And so that's what I wanted to say about this card. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot. I'll see you next time.